And welcome back to a brand new episode of the Total Sports Live podcast. Yes, it has been a minute, a long time. It's probably been a long time since I've said that. This is Jovan Alford. You already know who I'm joined by on the pod, not the one and only Nick Earnshaw. I'm a little rough around the edges, so forgive me. Nick back on the podcast with us. We're back on the podcast airwaves, and like I said, it's been a minute for me in particular, but if you've been following Nick, which I'm pretty sure most of you have been, he's been all over the local airwaves on ESPN 97.3 every day with the Knicks Nuggets on the Sports Bash with Mike Gill. He's doing the shift every week with Francisco as they break down baseball. He's on the locker room on Saturdays with Billy. I mean, I think I pretty much locked down everything. What is there anything that I've missed that you have not been on the air for? Oh, you were doing sideline reporting too, so I think I covered everything.
Yeah, we pretty much covered it all, man. I mean, it's been a busy year to say the least. A lot of fun though, a lot of fun, and a lot of great sports to go around. Eagles winning the Super Bowl, right? The whole nine, Jovan. You have the Sixers tanking. I mean, it's
Yes.
back to our old ways, right? Phillies, up and down. They've been better as of late. But it's been an exciting time in Philadelphia sports. Dude, it's been too long for the Total Sports Live podcast. Jovan's been kicking butt as well, like per usual.
With
So, dude,
NCX.
I am ready. I'm ready to go on the TSL pod because it's been too long. It's been too long. And I can't wait to break down the Sixers draft, what's going to happen with them later. Oh, we got tons to discuss, Jovan.
Yeah, no, it's definitely been too long. When I was putting the show together, to do this pod, I looked back in the archives and I was like, the last show outline was from the last time we talked Sixers, which was the Paul
Jeez.
George signing, and we were talking about that and giving our free agency wish list and all that stuff. That was the last time we talked Sixers. Then
Lots changed.
yeah,
Lots
a lot has
changed.
changed for the Sixers. And then I think after that, I think I did a mini pod talking about the Phillies game bouncing the NLDS, and that was in October. So it has been like a long time since been doing the pod, but better late than never. Why not jump back in and talk about the Sixers? Because there's actually something positive to talk about them at this time around. Funny enough, in the offseason, there's something positive to talk about that. So we're gonna jump into that on tonight's show. Talk about the draft. Talk about the latest free agency rumors and news involving the Sixers. As granted, they don't have many free agents of note. Obviously, there is a lot of rumors and news that have been going around about Quentin Grimes and Gershon Yabusele, which we will break down. We're also going to talk about the WNBA coming to Philly in about 5 years, 5 years in 2030. So we're going to be talking about all of that on the pod. But before we get into that, make sure you're following us on the good old X Machine at Total Sports Live and checking out the podcast wherever you get your podcast at Spotify, Google Podcasts, and Apple Podcasts. We are live streaming right now on Twitter /X on Nick's profile. So you follow Nick on Twitter, which is on the banner at below. They're streaming across. You can check out the pod right now live. And if you miss it, like I said, streaming platforms. And don't forget to check out totalsportslive.com. Got some new content on the website right now. Latest Sixers notebook breaking down the latest news and stuff, and also some NBA draft stuff as well. So a lot of good stuff coming in with the Philadelphia 76ers. But like I said, before we jump into free agency and everything, we got to talk about the Sixers draft, which was pretty eventful given how the regular season ended for the team. Obviously, we know the Sixers are coming off in pretty much unimaginable 2024-2025 season. I think a lot of us went into this season with a lot of hope and a lot of went in with a lot of hope, a lot of optimism, but the optimism quickly faded to where it was just a bunch of injuries and guys getting hurt, and eventually became, let's try to ethically tank our way to a lottery pick, which just so happened they finished with one of the worst records in the association, and they got lucky in the lottery. I think most Sixers fans were hoping that they were going to get, make sure to pick up and go to OKC, so get into that top 6 range, and they so happily fell and got to number 3 overall with VJ, where they got the number 3 overall pick, which they used a few weeks later last week in the NBA draft for Baylor's VJ Edgecombe. Then in the second round, they took a big man for the second straight year. Last year, we obviously know they took a Dembona in the second round. And then this year, they turned around and took Johni Broome with the number 35 overall pick. Nick, what did you think about the draft? Obviously, given what took place this year with this team and all the injuries and the slew of two-way guys that came through, the 10-day contract guys, the Colin Castletons, the Chumo Kikis, the Alex Reeses, the Jalen Hood Shafinos, like everybody who's anybody was playing for the Sixers this year. And they, like I said, ended up a number 3 overall pick, get Edgecombe, get Johni Broome. What was your thoughts when the Sixers? What was your thoughts last week on draft night, the 2-night event when the Sixers getting those two guys?
Yeah, how about the NBA going 2 nights for the NBA draft now, not just one, first and second round. Having a 2-night event, pretty cool. I don't know. I don't know how much I love the 2-night event. I think I like the one. I don't know. It's interesting. But to say the least, we go 76ers. I thought they got it right. No reason for them to go pick Ace Bailey. I'm sorry. It was just getting too out of hand, too crazy with his management team, the whole nine. You just saw all the reports coming out about it and from Ace Bailey's camp. Then he throws out the first pitch at the Mets game. It just was not meant to be in Philadelphia at all, Jovan. So listen, I think they got it right. I said the day of the pick because I kept going back and forth, and I'm just like, maybe they will go Ace. They'll just take him anyway. They could.
Right.
That happens in the NBA all the time. Feels like the Utah Jazz kind of did that with where they were at 5. So I was like, you know what? I don't think they're going to do it this time, and I think they made the right pick with VJ Edgecombe out of Baylor. I love this pick. I think he's going to fit seamlessly into the Sixers rotation. I know everyone's like, oh, another guard. Who cares? You can never have too many guards in this league now. I don't care. And by the way, he plays pretty good defense, to say the least. And what does the 76ers need? They need athleticism on the perimeter, a guy who can play defense. So I like the pick. I think he was really impressive last year. 15 points per game, 5 rebounds per game, 3 assists as well. Listen, he's really aggressive, and I love that he's a high character individual, Jovan. That's another big part. They didn't have to go drama. We got plenty of drama with the Philadelphia 76ers. Let me tell you,
yes, we do.
This team is filled with it. They are a soap opera like me and you have talked about for years and years and years. It just never ends. It never ends. Joel Embiid fighting reporters in the locker room. Paul George, he's got a podcast. That's perfect for drama, right? He's talking about something. He's going to stir something up. He's going to pause the podcast before they make the playoff. So I love that they drafted a guy who's high character. He's from the Bahamas. He's going to work hard. I feel like he's worn a 76ers hat, shirt, jersey every single day since he's been drafted. So I love his work ethic. I think he's going to be, he's not someone who's, a Ben Simmons type who just doesn't feel like they love the game of basketball. So I'm in on this. I think he brings in an attitude that you want on your team, and they've drafted a lot of good guys like McCain over the past couple of years, the Maxis of the world. I mean, they're always smiling, positive. He seems like another one like that as well. And then you got Johni Broome, who Charles Barkley, Chuck, praising him, highest of praises from Auburn, saying he's the best Auburn player in history. I'm paraphrasing right now, but man, I love this pick. They got a guy who can rebound. They need guys when Joel's not on the floor that can grab the boards. And listen, he also led the SEC in blocks too last year. So this is a guy. I would say it's not too bad. It's not too bad. I know everyone on social media is so annoying. They always find something to nitpick. At the combine, this jump. Yeah, I mean, come on, relax. This guy can do it all. He's a menace on the glass. I think he was the SEC Player of the Year as well too. So, listen, high praise from Charles Barkley. That's never a bad thing. So I like that they picked 2 high character guys and they addressed needs that the 76ers needed to fulfill. That's what happened. So I think you're getting a lot of athleticism from Edgecombe. And then from Broome, you're going to get a guy who can get some boards with you. I'm interested to see how they use Broome as well, and we'll get into that.
Yeah, no, for sure. And you mentioned Edgecombe, like you said, this season at Baylor, 15 points a game, 5.6 rebounds per game, 3.2 assists per game as well. Shot 43.6% from the field, 34% from three-point range. I know coming into the draft, a lot of Sixers fans were a little hesitant about the offense and the shot, but granted, again, 34% in college isn't horrible, given that he took 5.7 attempts from three. So he wasn't shy about letting it fly. He just wasn't converting. It was 1.9 on the attempts made. And then when you, like I said, you look at Johni Broome, 18.6 points per game, 10.8 rebounds per game at Baylor. I mean, not at Baylor, at Auburn, excuse me. Just a decorated career in college, which started at Morehead State, and he just got continuously better and better, spending the 3 years at Auburn after spending the first two at Morehead State. I mean, if you look at just his accolades, just in college, you're talking, like you said, 2024-2025 SEC Player of the Year, 3-time All-SEC, 2-time All-SEC tourney, SEC All-Defense. Going back to the OVC, 2-time all OVC, consensus All-American. We're talking this year, I believe. OVC tourney MVP, OVC Defensive Player of the Year, OVC Rookie of the Year. Like, this guy, like, the accolades show that he's a good ball player. And like I said, granted, people harp on the vertical and say, "Oh my God, I can't believe the Sixers, drafted a guy that can't get off the floor. Yeah, can't get off the floor." It doesn't. Combines don't mean anything. I mean, I think we take it in all sports, whether that's basketball, football, whatever. Combines are only a snapshot. Like, they can be good in some cases, but they can also be misleading in some other cases too. So I think if you're a Sixers fan, you got to be pleased with what they got. Like you said, Edgecombe, I think both of these guys actually, I think, fit right in with this timeline of how they're building this team. They're getting progressively younger. And I think we kind of saw that this past season with how they were kind of using this time to, make the trade for Quentin Grimes, which we'll talk about later, but you see Justin Edwards play more, right? You see a lot of these 10-day guys, two-way guys, like a Dembona playing more. Like, you started to see more of these young guys getting playing time, and these two, fit exactly where you want them. Like you said, Edgecombe, the athleticism, his defense. He's a guy that doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective, which I think is huge, for this team. Like, he'll be able to play off them, being able to, slash, get to the court. And like you said, Broome is going to be interesting how they use him, in the fact that like you said, you have Embiid, Drummond is coming back, as we know. You have a Dembona. Do you play Broome at the 4? Do you play him at the 5? Because I think he can play at the 5, but then I can also see, depending on what they do lineup wise, he could be very useful at the 4, given with how he plays the game. He's not the most athletic big man per se, right? But I feel like the way he plays the game is very smooth, he knows what he wants to do with the ball once he gets the ball in the low post in the paint. He knows what he wants to do.
Yeah, and I have to agree with you. And, the other day during his press conferences, his initial one with the 76ers, was him and VJ. He did say and indicate, yeah, I could play the 4 or the 5. Doesn't matter. And I think that's going to be huge for them, that versatility. If he can go back and forth. Because, the athleticism isn't like a VJ Edgecombe, right? Like, he's a guard.
Or a Dembona from last
exactly.
year.
And I'm curious to see how they use both of them, right? Like, what is his role going to be? And I'm curious to see how Nick Nurse really manages that heading into this season, right? Like, are they going to use a Dembona a ton? Are they going to go small? What lineups are they going to use when Embiid's off the floor? Because that's essentially what's going to happen. I wonder if they use Broome in the G League at all to try and get him more reps. Like, that I could see happening as well if they're using Bona a lot behind Joel. Right. I'm just very curious to see how they utilize him and what they want to get out of him. So that's going to be interesting with Broome. And he was also a guy that 2 years ago, he went through the draft process, talked to the Sixers, and then he comes back this year and they've made improvements, right? Like, from when he talked to the Sixers the first time. And, this is going to be very interesting because Broome, high level draft pick. I think he's pro ready. I'm just
Yes.
curious to see how they utilize him with some of their rotations and how Nick Nurse is going to get him involved while you have a Dembona already on your roster. So I'm curious. I'm just very curious to see how they utilize those rotations and how they utilize his skill set, either at the 5, they play him some 4 as well, maybe even next to Joel, or I don't know. They could do that at times too, to try something new if they needed to. So very curious to see how they use him. Edgecombe, I mean, he's going to come off the bench clearly. I think they want him to be a rotation guy right away. And listen, you get McCain back this year. You have Maxey as well. What do they do with Grimes? He's going to find his way into the rotation, but they do have a lot of guards, and it's up to Nick Nurse now to figure out those rotations to get all those guys minutes.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I think with Broome, like you said, I think part of the plan should be for them when he's not playing to get him into the G League, because obviously we've seen over the last few years with this Sixers organization, the G League has been very beneficial to getting these guys, young guys, more playing time. I think Bona went back and forth a little bit between Delaware and Philly. I think there was that one game where him, Doughton, and what Leslie Quinones did play in
the doubleheader, right?
During the day and then back. So I think Broome playing in the G League will be good for him to get like just more of those reps, because G League way faster game than the NBA. So like that will test you. No doubt. And like you said, when it comes to rotations of the big man, like you said, that's going to be an interesting, job for Nick Nurse. And I think for him, in just the idea of there's going to be games, obviously, even with we hope, right, a healthy Joel, right? There's going to be games where Joel doesn't play, right? Does that mean, and this is, again, all prevalent on if you re-sign, Gershon Yabusele, right? Could you do a lineup if Embiid's not playing of Drummond, Yabusele, right? That means Bona and Broome are your next, are right behind them, right? Or during a game, do you, and again, this is just me playing hypothetical, right? Do you throw out the lineup of having a Broome, Yabusele front court, knowing that Broome can kind of hang in that low post inside the arc, area, while Yabusele can kind of play away from the basket and kind of, stretch the floor a little bit as that kind of like stretch four.
Yeah, it's very interesting to see what's going to happen, who's going to re-sign, right? Because this is all dependent on your rotations. Like
exactly.
You mentioned Drummond. He exercised the option. He'll be back. Okay, so he's your backup center right now, but you have Bona and you have Broome there as well. Very curious to see what you can get out of Drummond this year. Remember, he wasn't that healthy either. Nah. So, I mean, it's a good thing that you have Broome in your back pocket now, okay? Even if he has to go start the year in the G League, fine. He'll get reps down there. And you talk about fast. I mean, the pace in the G League is absolutely
ridiculous.
Insane.
It's ridiculous.
It's just nuts. So, I think they're good there at that spot at the 5. I mean, we've complained for years as Sixers fans, as people have covered the team, like, why don't you have a backup 5 to Joel? Yep. Like, what? You have no size. You have nobody that can get rebounds. I mean, when Joel's been injured, I mean, they have just been awful on the glass. And getting Broome in there, you have a Dembona, Drummond's back. You have a couple of guys that you feel pretty confident in to get
some boards. Right.
Yeah. But going back to Yabusele, I mean, that's a guy that is very up in the air right now. As of right now, NBA free agency, as we're recording this, is in the midst. It's just getting going. Shams is dropping bombs all over the place. No Woj bombs this year, unfortunately. But Shams is breaking news left and right. As long as some of the other reporters are too. Yabusele's just fascinating because he came out of nowhere, played in the Olympics. Daryl Morey was like, got right on the phone, signed him. He becomes a 76er, has a really good year last year. He can stretch it. I hope they re-sign him. It just seems very unlikely that that's going to happen. I mean, last year he gave you 11 points, 5.6 rebounds, 2.1 assists, 50% from the field, 38% from three-point range. Listen, he was effective as anything on a minimum contract. So If you can get him back, he could help with spacing. It'd be huge because then you'd have Embiid back. You have Paul George.
Right.
You'd be relatively healthy, and in theory,
Even
it'd be nice.
even though we know that there is probably a contingent of the fan base who will hate the idea of that you're running it back. Like, that's the sentiment, because the Philly sports fan even hates the idea that the Phillies, quote unquote, ran it back with the, oh great, we're going to give you Jordan Romano for a year and we're going to give you Max Kepler for a year.
The Phillies are another issue.
I know, but I'm
But
saying it's the same,
they are. I know.
same theory.
The Sixers are on another stratosphere when it comes to running it back with this. Okay, Sixers fans out there, listen, you have to run it back. Okay, you have no choice. Okay, at this point, there's no choice. You're stuck with Paul George. You're stuck with Joel. You have a couple of young pieces. You don't have a ton of money to spend. You got to run it back. I'm sorry to say, but that's how it's got to be. You brought back Kelly Oubre. I like Kelly Oubre. I think in a contract year, that'll be, maybe you can get him to elevate his game like he did a couple of years ago. And you and I were texting about that before. Your best chance to just try is to go for it with this core. I mean, that's just where you're at. I mean, you're not going to get a ton for Embiid right now because he's a mystery. His knee is a mystery right now. I mean, they've been pretty quiet. The update that Daryl Morey gave the other night wasn't really a convincing update. I mean, it wasn't really enough.
It was the best we could ask for.
Right, I guess with this franchise, sure.
The worst possible case scenario is we have no update and we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to trade Embiid. Paul George is in his late 30s on that contract. What are you going to get back for him? This is your best shot. If they're healthy, this is a team, and I know we say the same thing every year. If they're on the floor, it's the same thing every year. I get it. But on paper, it's not a bad roster at all. It's a very competitive roster. And compared to what's going on in the East with all those injuries, Jovan,
which we will touch on.
Right. Yeah, we'll get to it. Mm-hmm. I mean, come on. So you just got to clean up the loose ends in free agency with the money that you do have.
Yep.
If you could bring back Yabusele, great. I would prefer not to pay Quentin Grimes over $20 million, which
we'll get into that too about that. Woo. Yeah, about what his camp and what's being reported out there. Yeah.
But overall, the draft, highly successful draft for the Sixers on paper. Absolutely.
Very, very good draft. And I think that's one thing you do have to give. Daryl Morey in this front office some credit. And I know it's hard to give this front office credit because fans don't like to do it, right? One thing you do got to give them credit for, they do know how to draft well. For whatever reason, free agency and trades, it's really a mixed bag, right? For every Paul George signing and, things of that nature, you somehow trading away Isaiah Joe, you somehow turn around and
NBA champion, by the way.
NBA champion Isaiah Joe. You somehow turn around and you flip Caleb Martin, right? You flip Caleb Martin for Quentin Grimes, which turned out to be a great deal. So it's weird. And like I said, this organization for some reason have done a great job with drafting, developing guys, knowing what they want, and it's paid off. So we'll see what happens with these two new young guys, these two rookies, as they will be getting their NBA careers going very soon in the summer league. I think Salt Lake City, they'll be back in Salt Lake City, I think, this year again.
Yeah, I think July 10th is the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
That's Vegas, I think, right? Vegas.
Oh, that's Vegas? Okay.
Yeah. So I think Salt Lake is starting soon. I think Salt Lake and California Classic is starting. I think this week, right? This week or next week? Because it kind of leads into Vegas. So their NBA careers will be getting will get started very soon, and you can only imagine Sixers fans will be probably looking at every summer league game.
The 5th against the Jazz. That's Salt Lake City. So they got game 1s against the Jazz, game 2 against the Thunder, game 3 against the Grizzlies.
Hey, they get to see Ace Bailey.
Game 1.
Game 1. VJ versus Ace in Salt Lake City. You can't ask for nothing better than that to start off the summer league for your summer Sixers, who we still don't know what the summer league roster will be, but we'll hopefully get that probably soon in the next couple of days. This is the Total Sports Live podcast here right now. If you're watching this live streaming on the good old Twitter/X platform, Jovan Alford here with Nick Earnshaw talking about those Sixers, breaking down the draft, but now fast forward moving into talking about free agency, rumors and news as free agency. As Nick said, free agency has gotten underway in the NBA. Not a lot of huge needle moving type moves, given that this wasn't the strongest free agency class, and the Sixers don't really have much to do in free agency. But as Nick highlighted earlier, the Sixers do have two big time players that they need to try to get back in Gershon Yabusele and Quentin Grimes. And we mentioned Quentin Grimes. It was reported over the weekend from Michael A. Scotto of Hoops Hype that the Sixers tender him an $8.7 million qualifying offer, which officially made him a restricted free agent. If you don't know, restricted free agency, teams can submit an offer sheet to try to get said restricted free agents from you, but the players' team have the opportunity to match. So far, we haven't heard anything about a team putting in an offer sheet. It looks like those opportunities are dwindling for the Quentin Grimes market with the trade of Cam Johnson to the Denver Nuggets and Michael Porter Jr.'s monster contract going to Brooklyn, and now Karis LeVert apparently heading to the Detroit Pistons, as some people felt like the Pistons could be a logical spot for Quentin Grimes, especially with how that team played. So with that in mind, on Sunday, Tony Jones at The Athletic reported that the 25-year-old guard is looking for a contract that averages about $25 million per year, which is a little bit too rich for a lot of people's taste. But Jones did add that the Sixers have been in contact with Grimes' camp. Nick, you talked about it earlier. 20 mil will probably be the ceiling for Grimes. I would try to get it between 16 and 20. I don't think Grimes is a $25 million player, even though he was very good last year. But there are some people that say, beware the player on the contract year that is playing on a bad team that can just put up stats.
Yeah. 25 million just is so much. So much. And listen, he's 25 years old, so I get there's a lot of upside. He's very young.
Fits the young core timeline here.
It does. It does.
20 multiverse is right there.
It is. 25 is just a ton for Quentin Grimes. Like, there were so many injuries last year, somebody's got to score, right? Someone's got to put up some type of numbers at some point, right? And we don't know what he's gonna fit like next to guys like Maxey and guys like Paul George and Embiid. Like, what is that going to look like? What's the rotation going to look like? Is he going to come off the bench, etc.? Like, that's a lot of money for Quentin Grimes. Over 20 million is just too much in my estimation. He's a great player. He's young, but that's just too much, because then you got to still fill out a roster. I mean, you're not going to have a ton of money left if you go that high with Grimes, and Yabusele's as good as gone if you go that high. Exactly. Yeah, you're not going to be able to do really anything. What if the trade deadline rolls around? Are you going to be stuck with that contract? Are you going to want to move off of it? Is it going to hinder you from making moves down the line, maybe at the deadline if you want to add a piece or something? Mm-hmm. Are you going to have any money to do it? And if you lock him in for a couple of years and then have him at 25 million per year, I mean, that's going to really hurt you while you already have the Paul George contract hurting you already. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to have a lot of wiggle room, especially at the trade deadline, if you do re-sign Grimes to a contract at that magnitude.
Yeah, 25 million is a little bit too rich. And like you said, granted, there was a ton of injuries. So like you said, somebody had to score the ball. And even though he gave some impressive performances,
he did.
The game against Golden State against Steph Curry and company was like
unreal.
Unreal. The game against Houston was just unreal. Like, some of the things he was doing on the court, I think everybody, Sixers fans, was like, yo, like, what did Daryl Morey walk into? Like, how did he find this man? Why was he not getting used in Dallas? And also Knicks fans, I know you saw it at the same time to see him going off like this. Like, these are all the thoughts that you're going in your mind. But then there's also the other thing that was happening was like, hope Quentin Grimes don't screw up the Sixers draft stock here, because he's balling too hard right now.
I remember going on the radio and being like, Can you calm down a little bit, Quentin? Like, just chill out. You don't need to win all these games, man. We're trying to get a top pick here. So yeah, that was funny. It's a funny time. It's like a forgotten time now. Like, it's just like they were that bad. It was so forgetful that season. Like, you just remember a couple of the Grimes games.
Right, and they were that bad because of injury, right? Wasn't they were that bad because of like the roster was poor, right? Like
no,
they weren't like Brooklyn, right? It wasn't like Brooklyn Nets bad where you're running out like Trendon Watford and Keon Johnson, like
no, it was
Sharp. Like
it was no, it got to a point where you're just shutting everybody down. It's like, all right, it's not even really worth it. We're not going to go anywhere. No one's going to come back. For some reason, Paul George stopped his podcast. We should have restarted the TSL podcast when Paul George stopped his, when he stopped Podcast P. So, I mean, listen, it was a season to forget. Clearly, they got to get healthy. That's the number one goal, is that they have to get healthy. But back to Grimes, it's a lot of money. He played really well. There's something there with Grimes, and you'd like to have him on this roster, because if you can get the most out of the guys like Kelly Oubre, you can get the most out of Jared McCain, right? Adem Bona, Drummond. If you can just have a healthy-ish roster and get the most out of those role players like you did maybe a couple of years ago, they're in a great spot. But Grimes at 25, too much. If they get to maybe 22, I'd say, it's an overpay, but I won't be as mad. 25 is really, really pushing it.
So we're thinking, 22 at 3 years, which will put you 66?
Yeah.
Or 22 for 4, which puts you at 88?
Yeah, I think they're going to go over the 20 mark. I have that feeling they're going to have to match somebody maybe, and they're going to have to get close to 25. I don't think they'll get to 25, but I think 22 and a half maybe is where we'll set it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see how his market develops, or if anybody steps up, given what we've just seen, through these first, couple hours of free agency with the Nets, with the Pistons, and kind of big money being, shelled out, Karis LeVert, obviously, and then the trade between Cam Johnson to the Nuggets for Michael Porter Jr. Yep. We mentioned earlier on the show, we did talk about a couple of other Sixers players. There was some Sixers news before we got to before free agency came about. The Sixers had to tie some loose ends on the contract realm here. Obviously, we mentioned earlier, Andre Drummond picked up his $5 million option. Kelly Oubre picks up his $8.3 million option, which I think is great move for him. Great move for the Sixers. You're going to need him in this capacity. He's shown throughout his tenure, and I wrote about this last night. He's been whatever you need him to be, whether it's coming off the bench or whether he's starting. He's done it for you and done it well, averaging 15 points per game plus in his 2 years with the Sixers. I mean, you can't argue with that. Eric Gordon declined his $3.4 million option. I'm not really, it is what it is. With that,
I forget who said it. Like, someone was like, "Oh, he might want to mentor the young guys like Edgecombe and stuff." I forget who said it. It was somebody in Sixers media.
Was it Pompey?
I don't know who it was, but like, if you're gonna come back and mentor somebody, I think it's
because of the Bahamas connection. Because
it's like, be a coach.
Is on the Bahamian national team.
Yeah, it's like, be a coach at that point. If you're gonna just mentor, just be a coach. Just be a coach at that point. We don't need a Udonis Haslem taking up a roster spot. We just don't.
Yeah, I didn't realize that Eric Gordon is 36 years old. Last season, in 39 games last season, he averaged 6.8 points per game on 42.6% shooting from the field and 40.9% from beyond the arc, which is pretty good. He's joined the Sixers last year on a 2-year, $6.77 million deal. But obviously, I think he was dealing with injury too last year. I think it was the wrist. I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think you're right. And which kind of hindered the season, because that's the type of season it was for the Sixers, right? Everybody was getting hurt. So we have Eric Gordon declined his $3.4 million option, but as Shams and other people have reported, he could return to Philly. Be interested in FC if the Sixers maybe get him at the vet min, which would be pretty good value at this point of his career. And then also Sixers declined the team option for Lonnie Walker and Jared Butler, and then they also declined the option for Justin Edwards, the UDFA. from this past season, but will be signing him to a 3-year deal, which is well deserved for the Philadelphia native, who played really well
Yeah, he
and
did.
really opened up a lot of people's eyes. Again, that development of finding a guy who came out of Imhotep as one of the best high school players, you know, in the city, and goes to Kentucky and doesn't have probably what everybody thought for Kentucky guys, kind of blow up. He goes undrafted, ends up with his hometown team, and it seems like everything's like kind of really paying off and working out for him to get the 3-year deal. But Nick, what are your thoughts on the declines of Butler and Walker, but then obviously the huge one, which I think a lot of Sixers fans were excited for, which was Edward to get in a 3-year deal?
Yeah, Edwards getting the 3-year deal was huge. He's a guy who kind of came out of nowhere and gave you something, right? Like that guy can be a rotational player for you next year.
And only 21 years old, which is crazy.
So young. He's so young. I mean, that's the thing with Grimes. Like Grimes are very young. They're in their 20s. Like Grimes only 25, Edwards 21. A lot of young players on this team. You have a core kind of for the next couple of years, even after the Georges, after the Embiids, like after those guys are kind of maybe moving their way out after their contracts, you have guys that can play still and develop. So, and we've seen like a lot of teams, and I'm glad they kept Edwards. If they keep Grimes, great. But you have McCain's, you have Edgecombs, you have Dembonas, you have the Maxis of the world. A lot of these teams, remember, 7 different teams have won championships in the past 7 seasons, right?
Yep.
A lot of those teams have been playing together for a while. The cores have stayed together. I mean, you look at teams like the Nuggets, who just got one of their core pieces, rid of their core pieces to the Nets, and Michael Porter, so he's gone. But like a lot of these teams have kept their cores together. Thunder, all drafted together, young players, right? Process-esque out there in Oklahoma City. So you have guys that you want to keep around. So that's why I love the Justin Edwards signing, because you're keeping a lot of these young players and building a core, at least for after this core, the older guys move on the way out. So I love that signing. Drummond, sure, he picks up $5 million option. You're gonna need a backup center. You can never have too much size. You know, if you can get something out of him, great at this stage of his career. You just need him to rebound. Hopefully he doesn't have to start every night.
And stay out of foul trouble.
Yeah, exactly. Right. So Kelly Oubre, love the Kelly Oubre, picked up his option. I love the Kelly Oubre experience. If you don't love the Kelly Oubre experience, you are not a basketball fan. He can make 3 3-pointers in a row and then catch a ball out of bounds and look down and not realize it. So that's what you're going to get out of Kelly Oubre. And it's so much fun. I love watching him play basketball. So I like the Kelly Oubre picked up his option. And like you and I have talked about, like when he was on that 1-year deal a couple years back, he played absolutely fantastic, was huge for them. So love the Oubre signing. Eric Gordon, I already said my feelings on that. Just become a coach at this point. Eric Gordon's had a great career. I know he shot
for real.
40%.
Great career.
But I mean, at this point, we got to get younger. The Sixers have to get younger. And they had a lot of old guys, Kyle Lowry, Eric Gordon, and look how it panned out. Everybody got hurt last year.
Everybody.
So Lonnie Walker, Jared Butler, really just nothing for me there. I know Lonnie Walker's your boy. I know
I was very disappointed. I was very disappointed to Sixers to see Sixers decline his option, because we pined for this. He was on our Sixers free agency wish list with Steph Curry.
He was.
So it's like they should go get Lonnie Walker. He's young, he's athletic, he could kind of give you something in the rotation. I just didn't know what was going to happen after the trade deadline, where he went because he got cut by the Celtics, didn't take the G League, didn't want to go to G League, went overseas to play in the Euro League with Zalgiris. So I was excited to see it happen, but for some reason just didn't pan out the way. Even though he put up solid numbers, it just didn't pan out. I hope he finds a new landing spot, because I do think he has.
I think he has talent.
I think he can, he has talent. I think he can help an NBA team. It's just it didn't work for some reason, which you thought it would, because of there was minutes to be had, and it just I think it was more so. I think a lot of inconsistencies from him,
Right.
In his short tenure. So I'll take the L on that one for the. I'll take the L.
We all got them. We all got guys like that we put out there. It's all right. Lonnie Walker, great, little Sixer stint. Maybe we'll remember him. He's not a processor, so I don't know how we'll remember as one of the worst seasons Sixers history. I don't know. He's a part of that team. All right, everyone got hurt.
Right.
All right.
There you go. So that's pretty much, if you haven't caught up on all Sixers news, that's pretty much everything that has happened with the Sixers in the last 24 to 72 hours. We'll see again, obviously, what happens with Yabusele and Quentin Grimes and any other former Sixers. DeAnthony Melton, the free agent. Ben Simmons is a free agent. I've heard some Sixers fans hit me up and say that they are open to the idea of bringing back.
Wow. Wow.
That's a whole nother podcast for a whole.
That could last a whole nother 2 hours if we get into Ben Simmons talk.
Could you imagine if they did bring back Ben Simmons?
It's funny. I'll say this on it real quick. I was on TikTok the other day. I was doom scrolling, and a Ben Simmons sad edit came up to bring him back, and I was just like, no, you're not gonna get me on this one. You're just not gonna get me. I don't feel bad. No, you're not making me do it. You're not gonna make me go back into the past. It's like bringing it's like going back after an ex or something. Jovan, you can't bring it back. You can't.
No, you
not
can't.
At this point. I don't know.
I understand why people want the idea of a backup four. You could play defense, but I mean,
no.
I don't want to cross that bridge, but
no. I thought we're going in a new direction. We're drafting guys that love the game. That high character, actually want to play basketball, likes the city of Philadelphia. So let's not go back there.
No, let's not go back there at all. So we got two more segments here on the pod before we wrap up. But again, appreciate everybody tuning in and tapping in with us here as we're back live talking about the Sixers on the TSL podcast. And like I said, before we wrap up, let's talk about a couple more things here. Way too early expectations for the Sixers heading into next season. With all the injuries happening in the East, what do we expect from them next season? Like we already know, Halliburton out with the torn Achilles, which he suffered in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Jason Tatum, torn Achilles, which happened in the Eastern Conference semis against the Knicks. Dame with the torn Achilles against the Pacers in the first round. I think they said all the players are wearing number 0 too. So I don't know, man. This is just real Twilight Zone type situations that you hope all those guys, get better, get healthy, and back on the floor, because all those guys will be missed on the floor this year for just the game in general and for their respective teams. But Nick, I know a lot of Sixers fans don't want to go down this path of putting all their hope into this team and saying, well, we say this every year, they're supposed to be this, but they're supposed to be this good, and they always let us down. But like I said to you before the show, people don't want to put their eggs and try to have a little bit of faith in this Sixers team, but then they turn around and put their eggs and faith into a Phillies team that has been underachieving the last 2 years. I mean, I'm trying to understand. You put your hope into a Phillies team that lost to Diamondbacks and NLCS, and then they lost in the first round to NLDS into the Mets, but you don't want to give faith into a Sixers team in the Eastern Conference that is pretty wide open right now. You're looking at probably your healthiest teams, the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Orlando Magic, Detroit Pistons. Obviously, the Knicks are there, but the Knicks don't have a head coach right now.
Don't even get me started on the New York Knicks. I don't know what the heck that organization is doing with that move, firing their best coach in ever, almost, literally almost ever. So, I mean, look, I'll start with the Sixers and just all the injuries and the Eastern Conference itself before we get into the Phillies comp, because I do want to address the Phillies comp. Halliburton out, Tatum, Dame Lillard. I mean, these are stars that are going to miss most of the next year, if not all of the year.
Yeah.
So the East is open. It's it's the Cavs or the Knicks probably at the top right now. Right. The 76ers are just a unique team. Now, I mean, listen, there is no reason they shouldn't be at the top with the Cavaliers and the Knicks. There's no reason. With the talent on this team, on paper, I mean, this team's legit. You have Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, Kelly Oubre, Jared McCain, VJ Edgecombe, possibly Quentin Grimes back, and Andre Drummond. I mean, this is a playoff roster. I mean, is anyone else looking at the same thing? This is a playoff roster. If you can get the MVP back, the knees,
at
who
80%,
knows?
at 80%,
85, 80, 75%, I would take Joel Embiid. If you get 75 of what he was during his MVP year, putting up 70, I mean, this is a really good basketball team. And if Paul George can just play decent, he doesn't have to be the first option, second option. He can be the third or fourth option on this team. Tyrese Maxey develops, takes another step. I mean, there's no reason for this team not to be in the playoff hunt. They're not. And I want to be back up in the nosebleeds again, okay? Like, I want to enjoy being in the nosebleeds again. There's no reason. I remember walking into the Wells Fargo Center. They'd have, just a Sixers, board up there of a bunch of the players. My buddy and I, we'd walk in, we'd say they're all hurt. No one in that graphic's playing tonight. It's all about health. There's nothing else. The roster's good enough. It's all about health with the 76ers, and the East is wide open. And I don't know if the Sixers will get another opportunity like this. And I feel like we always say, I don't know. The East this year, I mean, you have young teams like the Magic. You have the Pacers will still be a good team fighting. Orlando, like you have
Celtics.
Celtics will still be good,
depending on what they do.
Yeah, Jaylen Brown. The Jaylen Brown rumors are nuts. So who knows what they do? But there's no reason for the Sixers team not to be at the top of the standings. I mean, they're just not. And if they get hurt again, I mean, then maybe you have to consider really reevaluating everything next year, and you're probably going to see some firing. So that's where the Sixers are. However, the Phillies comp, very similar, to be honest. I mean, it is. I think the Phillies are turning into the 76ers. They're having a great regular season, but you see the holes. You see them. Now you have Bryce Hart. The Stars has a nagging wrist injury, nagging knee injury with Joel Embiid. I mean, the parallels are there with both teams. I hate to say it.
Nick Castellanos is Tobias Harris, depending on the day.
Depending on the day, he is Tobias. He's a disappointing contract, not worth the money. Clearly, he's been a singles hitter. When you sign him to hit home runs, hasn't happened. But he's been better this year. I'm not complaining too much about Casty. Maybe a little bit. I need to see more home runs, I will say. But I think there are parallels there, because we've seen gaping holes in the Sixers roster before, right? Like, they needed a backup center. The Phillies need a right fielder or a left fielder or a center fielder. So, like, there's holes in both teams, and we see them heading into the postseason, and we're just delaying it. Ultimate disappointment, I feel like, with both squads. I mean, that's just what happens with both teams. I mean, the Phillies, if they don't make a major move at the deadline, I think you're going to see something similar, because all the bats just, for some reason, always go cold at the same time. So I see both parallels for sure.
Yeah, no, it's a weird, scary parallel. The other difference between this group is that the Phillies actually got to a championship.
They did.
Conference championship realm in a World Series, in this Sixers core haven't gotten there through some crazy misfortunes that you can't make up or write up. The Game 7 against the Hawks, the Ben Simmons passing the T-Sky ball. Danny Green was just on All the Smoke with. I
saw that. Yeah.
I
saw it.
Yeah. So that, you had that. I'm trying to think what else you had.
Game 6 against Boston, Mother's Day, Game 7 against Boston.
Mother's Day against Game 7 in Boston. That took me to a whole different level.
I was at Game 6 where they choked, where Tatum had no points until the fourth.
Yep.
I was there at that game. And then I was at Game 6 I went by myself to sit in the bleeds against the Knicks, where they got where Buddy Hield went off
for like,
and they
20
still
in the
lost.
First half. Yeah, you got that. You got the Toronto series.
Yeah,
the Kawhi shot. You had the bubble playoffs where they got swept in 4 games, and Tobias Harris fell and
just miserable. It's just miserable to watch this team.
Yeah, but like you said, looking at this next season's team, if they are healthy, and if everybody plays their potential, they can get that proverbial monkey off their back of hey, we got to the Eastern Conference Finals. Like,
on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident are you they stay relatively healthy? That's my not just health, like relatively healthy. Like they miss some games. Like Embiid's gonna miss games. We know that. Relatively healthy, get into the postseason. What 1 to 10? How confident are you that happens?
I'm at a 6.5.
You're more positive than me. I'm at a 4. I'm at a 4. I'm sorry. I'm just at a 4. Like
And it's not with the young guys, right? It's probably the 4 is probably with Embiid and Paul George.
Yeah, those two are gonna find a way to just derail the season because of injuries. I hate it because Embiid is one of the most impressive players, talented players I've ever watched play basketball. And it just doesn't work anymore. It just doesn't work out. It just every year there's something.
You know what this reminds me of too? And it's not like a 1-for-1 comparison, but it's almost like, and I hope this isn't the case for Embiid, with the knees and stuff like that. This is almost like a weird 1-for-1 with Ryan Howard.
Yeah.
When Howard tore the Achilles and he just was never the same player. And you could just tell like that guy who was the perennial all-star MVP candidate National League, like it wasn't there anymore. And I hope that isn't the case for Embiid. Like, I really hope like next year he comes back. Granted, he might not score or average 27, 29 points a game, but can he give me 25 and 10? Like, if he does that,
and let the other guys score.
Yeah. But I don't know. Like, I think a lot of fans don't know what they're going to get from the big fella. And I think that's what hurts too, because we've seen in Philadelphia athletes just kind of losing their luster. And just like when that injury happens, like they're just not the same guy anymore. And it sucks to watch them like on that downside. At least with Howard, they were able to get that championship and then go back to another one. But you could just tell it deflated the organization, because that was almost like signaling like, oh crap, this is the end of an era. Like, and this is
it.
Right.
Yeah. I hope this knee injury, I hope they can manage it properly. I mean, there was glimpses last year that he was still the same. Like, but now he's heading into his he's going to be in his mid-30s soon. He's very big. He's tall. Like, it's a lot of pressure on those knees, man.
And the crazy part, he lost weight last year. That was the crazy part.
I know.
Like,
he came in great shape, and it didn't matter. Didn't matter.
It does. It does. It's life as a Sixers fan, or people that cover the Sixers, talk about the Sixers. Like, it's that weird love-hate dichotomy of it all. Like, you want for them to be good, and it just never happens. But hey, maybe this year's the year, right? Maybe in some strange coincidence, like maybe this is the year that things, since we're in this new era of parity in the NBA, that they somehow get lucky and Nick Nurse pulls all the right strings. Because like you mentioned, Nick, if things go south this upcoming season, or guys get hurt, they fall short of expectations, they get bounced in the second round, they get bounced in the first round. Like you said, there's a lot of changes happening. Head coach is probably out. Morey's probably out. Paul George is probably out. Like, they're going to find a way more for that move off that contract. Like, there will be changes if they don't live up to somewhat of expectation to get into an Eastern Conference final. Fair or unfair, like that's what it's going to be.
Yep, this is the year. This is it. And if they don't make major strides this year, and they don't get to the postseason, or the injuries really start to pile up again, you're going to see a lot of changes in the offseason, and you're going to see a new direction clearly from this organization. No doubt.
No doubt at all. So that's going to put a wrap on our Sixers talk here on the podcast, but we're not done. We got one more segment for you, one more soup segment for y'all before we wrap in. What better way to end off the pod than to talk about the WNBA? And if you haven't heard, you probably should have heard by now, with been all the rage on social media today, that Philadelphia is getting a WNBA team. It will be owned and operated by Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment, which I know Sixers fans are a little bit iffy on, because Josh Harris is not the most likable guy, and it doesn't help that he owns the Commanders and he owns the New Jersey Devils. So he's not well
liked. He owns a
here,
soccer team now too. I think he owns a soccer team now too. Yeah,
right, in the Premier League, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
What team it is? Yeah,
of course he does.
He's got his, as most owners and billionaires and owners do, they have their little stock portfolios, spread around, and now he's going to add a new thing to add a new team to the portfolio, and that's going to be this WNBA team. It'll be Philadelphia's first new major professional sports team since 2008, and I think '08 was the Union, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Or was that? Yep. So we have that. Philly will be joining Cleveland. Detroit will be joining Cleveland in Detroit. Cleveland will be coming in 2028. Detroit 2029, and then Philly in 2030, which I know kind of blew the sails out of people's excitement, because it's like, oh my God, we got to wait 5 years. For now, it was like waiting for a Marvel movie to come out, right? You just gotta wait a year or two, right? But a lot of excitement, Nick, about the city getting the WNBA team. There's I know a lot of people were, we heard rumors about it, for months, and various reports saying like Philly's a front runner. The league believes Philly, the league has Philly as a front runner, to be that 17th, 18th franchise. And now City's getting his chance. They're getting a women's bat. They're getting a WNBA team at the right time where the league is in great shape. They're already expanding. Obviously, Golden State joined the fold this year, and they're off to a great start at 9-7. Head coach Natalie Nakase is doing a great job with them in the Valkyries, and obviously 2 more teams are coming next year in the Toronto Tempo in 2026 in Portland. In 26, I think there's a mid announcement coming in mid-July about the Portland franchise. So the league's in great shape, and now Philly's going to get the opportunity to come right in. I think, and I hope the fan base, because sometimes social media doesn't tell the story. I hope people come out and support when it is that time for for this new team to be unveiled, because this is going to be huge. It's going to be huge news around the sports world when it comes down to that time.
Yeah, no, this has been talked about for a long time. I know you're a gigantic WNBA fan, follower.
Huge.
So
Almost shed a tear when I heard
I
this.
know you texted me as soon as it happened, like, "Yo, we got a WNBA team." I had a buddy text me. He's a big New York Liberty fan, and he's like, "Oh, now we can go to more games. We can go and watch your team lose." All big New York fans. Like, "Oh, of course, good one, dude." So yeah, this is huge for the city of Philadelphia. And by the way, I'm just stunned it took this long for Philadelphia to get a team. Should not have taken this long for Philadelphia to have a WNBA team. I'm shocked that they are going to be the 18th team. 2030, still got to wait 5 years. I'm a little, whatever. But Josh Harris going to own it. Now, what's interesting about this is I think the believed timeline for the new stadium for the Sixers and the Flyers is 2032. So I'm assuming that the WNBA team is going to play in the Xfinity Mobile Arena, formerly the Wells Fargo Center, for I guess 2 years.
Formerly Wachovia, formerly
God, all the 18 different names, right? But yeah, like they're probably going to play in that stadium, I believe, for a year or two. It's, I guess, just timeline based, just doing some math. That they'll before they move into the new arena. So I'm very curious what the name's going to be. I just have no idea. I've heard Freedom, and we talked about this on the radio today. Like there's the Philadelphia Freedoms. That's the tennis team,
right,
located in Philadelphia.
Team, right.
So could they potentially poach Freedom and just drop the S? I don't know. That's like the one I've heard a lot.
I saw somebody on social media said the Philadelphia Sound, which I'm not.
Okay, that's not bad.
To.
Yeah. Massive music scene here. Come on.
Yeah, massive music scene. I've also heard my guy Jonathan Brown. I think he put on social media the Philadelphia Rhythm, which
that's a good one. Yeah, I think I follow Jonathan. Yeah, that's a great one. I like that one. I'll give him credit on that. That's a really good one.
I haven't thought about names of my own, and obviously people throw around the conjecture of the Liberty Bells, the Bells, like
can't go Liberty. Yeah, Bells like that doesn't have a nice ring to it. No pun intended.
Right. I heard I think somebody said the Philadelphia Revolution.
Okay. Yeah.
Could work.
Not bad. Yeah.
Could work. That's going to be the first trick.
The vibe.
Right?
Yeah.
You have to kind of figure out what that name is, because once you get that name, it kind of like really like brings it home. And I think
like the Union was a good name. Like that was a good name for that's a great name.
The Union, their color scheme, like it was just they knocked it out the park with that one, like 100%. Even in the arena football aspect, like the Philadelphia Soul, like
great.
They hit it out the park, and that's going to be the huge challenge for this new ownership group is like testing out the waters to see
Well,
what
this is the
name.
ownership group that got rid of hip hop and brought
Yes,
in
he did.
Franklin. I mean, we got to do a better job. We got to do a better
Real,
job.
real fed. Like I'm just saying, take away hip hop. But Harris, if Harris shows the same type of enthusiasm that he shows with the Commanders, then
Right.
maybe there's some hope. But like I said, it starts with what the name's going to be. It'll be interesting to see what ideas they throw around there and kind of get the people's gauge of what they think there is, because obviously, like I said, Golden State knocked it out the park with the Valkyries. It works so well with, obviously, you have the Golden State Warriors and you have the Golden State Valkyries, and they obviously, I think the Warriors owner Joe Lacob owns the Valkyries, and they don't have the same color scheme, which is nice. The Valkyries with the light purple and black combo, and their games have just been exciting this year. They've done a good job for an expansion team, with their expansion draft and how they built that team, and even the crowd at the Chase Center. Like, the crowds have just been outstanding. Like, they have come out support. I think Brandon Pajemski of the Warriors has been to a lot of game support, and like that's the type of thing that this team is going to need to kind of like market and sell and push this thing. Like, you're going to need like the other players and stuff from the Sixers and maybe from other teams from the city to kind of like push this thing as it gets closer, to kind of bring people, that get them excited, because we hear, like you said, we hear it on social media all the time. People say, "Wow, Philly doesn't have a team," and da 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 da. Now there's going to be put up or shut up time of, you're going to have this team. Like, you're going to be in the record books of, you were the 18th franchise of the WNBA.
Yeah, another name just came into my head, because I'm like, do they play off the Sixers a little bit? They could go Philadelphia Independence. Could they do that?
Oh,
like Declaration of Independence. Independence could be their name. Maybe just say play off the Sixers a little bit. I mean, it's a possibility. I just came in my head. Someone's probably said it, but
that's a good. I haven't seen that one. That's a good one.
Neither have I.
I like that. I like that. That's a good one.
Because you got the New York Liberty,
right?
So you can't do Liberty.
You can't do Liberty. No.
Play off the Declaration of Independence. It ties back to the Sixers, so both the men's and women's team are in the same realm. I don't know, just an idea.
That's a good one. I like that.
I just thought of that.
That's a very good one. And I've seen a bunch of the Twitter accounts, saying like, what should the team name be, et cetera, et cetera. I just want to put a quick PSA out to the Philadelphia media and everything. Like the quick PSA to the Philadelphia media, like, don't let this moment like die down. Like, don't just let it be just a moment right now, like for today or this week, and then just say, all right, we'll come back around like 4 years. Like, and I know it's going to be easy to do so, right? Because it's still a long time away. Like, we need to, everybody, like especially media, to push this thing, to kind of push this thing forward, because that's what it's going to need. And it's something that crossed my mind when I were thinking about it. Like, how is the city even going to cover this team, right? Are they going to cover it like they're the six? Because I don't expect it to be Eagles level. I don't consider it to be Phillies level, right? Can I get a hybrid of Sixers Flyers coverage, or are you going to treat it like the Union? Like, and we know how this city treats the Union, like the local media, to an extent. It's like, okay, the Union's here, that's cool, like that's great. You'll see them on Channel 6, like for a quick 30-second segment of what happened in their game. Like,
I'm very curious to see how it's going to be dealt with, because it's a professional basketball team. We've never had a women's team here at the WNBA level. So I don't know. I'm very curious to see how this is going to go. And in 5 years, a lot's going to change too. So this is going to be interesting. And what's the media landscape going to be like in 5 years? Because we know how ever changing this business is. So in 5 years, what's that look like?
Yeah, and the good thing for them, and that the Philadelphia WNBA team's ownership, is they're going to get a chance to continue to watch four other teams go through their inaugural seasons and things, and can kind of look and see, okay, these teams did this well, these ones didn't do this one well, maybe we can take from here, do from that, right? Like, I'm pretty sure Toronto and Portland are seeing what Golden State is doing and saying, we need to implement those things, right? And if you're Philly, you're going to be looking, obviously, you're going to be looking at what Golden State has done and what Toronto and Portland will be doing. But you're really going to be looking at what is Cleveland doing? What is Detroit doing? Because they are going to be right ahead of you. So you're going to be watching and figuring out what you're going to do. And that's what's going to make it fun, right? It's going to make it fun to see how they build this thing. The expansion draft is going to be fun. We don't know who's going to be in the expansion draft because we're still like 5 years away from that. So we don't know what the draft's going to be, you know, because women's college basketball is just exceeding at a high level, so much talent, you know, the names, unlike men's college basketball where you can't really name a bunch of guys like women's college basketball, you can put the names and faces, and those girls play some great, outstanding basketball. So it's going to be a good one, Nick. I'm excited for it. I can't wait. Like you said, it's been long overdue for the city to get it, and you know, hopefully it goes well in 5 years. Hopefully, we're talking about instead of doing podcasts about the Sixers, we'll be podcasting about a WNBA.
Might be more positive. It might be a little more positive talking about the WNBA team.
I think it will be more positive. I think it will be more positive. I'm just getting excited at the idea of we are going to be seeing some of the best and brightest players coming to Philly to play. We're going to see the Caitlin Clarks. We're going to see the Paige Beckers, the Angel Reeses, the Kiki Ariaffins, like the Asia Wilsons. Like we're going to be the Nafisa Colliers, you know, Breanna Stewart, she's still playing, and you know, in 5 years. I mean, the Sonia Centrones, like so much talent. Like we're going to be watching that like up close and like personal, you know. That's I think the most fun thing, because unlike the NBA where there's like 30 teams, like you could just like, all right, I don't want to see the Jazz. Like in the W, you get to see the best of the best every night, and they're going to be coming to the city every night. So it's gonna be a fun one. I think it's going to be fun.
Yeah, it's going to be really cool. It's fine. It's been way too long, way overdue for this to happen. So, hey, new team's coming to Philly. Got to wait 5 years, but new team in Philadelphia. New team in Philly. I'll be 30. I'll be 30 in 5 years.
I'm trying to do the math for myself. I'll probably be 38. So, you know.
Oh, we can wait, but you know, like, you know, like thinking about like, oh, it's like,
I'll be 34 this year. Yeah. So
Jeez. But there you have it. All right. Independence. That's a TSL. We'll push Philadelphia Independence. That'll be our name into the pot.
Philadelphia Independence, and we'll push the Philadelphia Rhythm by Jonathan.
Let's get about one of those two. Let's get it.
Let's get it. But yeah, that's gonna wrap up the podcast. Really appreciate everyone tuning in tonight live on Twitter/X. Really appreciate it. Again, if you missed this podcast or any of the podcasts that we will hopefully be getting around to doing more often, make sure you're following and you're subscribed to us on all the streaming platforms: Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And also don't forget to check out TotalSportsLive.com. A lot of content starting to percolate a little bit. This podcast will hopefully be on there as well. So if you missed it there, you can get it there as well. Include all the social media platforms. We'll work on that. It's a process, but we will get it there to a well-oiled machine. Before we go, Nick, anything you have coming up that people should be looking out for?
Nothing crazy. You know, I'll be on at 4:30 every day on the Sports Bash 97.3 ESPN, 10 to 12 on the Locker Room with Billy. You know, I'll be doing some sideline probably again next year. WDBK had a fantastic year there. So that was a lot of fun. So yeah, just look for those WDBK members. They're going to be popping up everywhere, I feel like, soon. We had a lot of good things to end the year on. A lot of students getting scholarships, internships. So it was a positive year for sure to see that happen. So other than that, I got nothing else.
Shout out to the kids over at WDBK, you know, keeping the radio dream alive, and
the shift, by the way, the shift. I think we're gonna do a show this week, so
there you go.
Have another episode out.
Another episode of the shift, and it's probably a great time to tune into the shift, right? Because we got an All-Star break coming up. We have MLB trade deadline coming up. So if you aren't subscribed to the shift, I need you to go do that right now. Go subscribe to the shift on all the streaming platforms, YouTube, TikTok, all that good stuff. Go subscribe because you don't want to miss it. You don't want to miss meat and potatoes. You don't want to miss Fran getting mad at Nick for not knowing certain music. Like you don't,
Yeah,
you,
that
you,
happens every episode almost. Every episode
yeah,
almost.
you don't want to miss it. But hey, glad to be back on the air talking with everybody and breaking down Sixers basketball. Don't know when we'll be back to do another one, but hey, appreciate everyone tuning in. For me and Nick, everyone have a good one, and we will talk to you all very soon.
Peace.